Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Coaching Couch, where I am your co-host, Yvonne Lorraine, Innovative Visions. So happy to be here with you all. And I have my guest here who is so wonderful and so beautiful. And I just thank God for her all the time, Miss.
Sharon Taylor, founder and CEO of the Business Vision and Development Center and your business strategist. And as always, Wednesdays on the couch is my favorite time of the day. What we doing today, Yvonne? Are you pulling at my heartstrings today?
Oh, we're going to see, Sharon. I just hope everybody is ready. I hope that sometimes our listeners are getting their pencils and paper together, sitting on their couch, maybe have some soft music playing in the background, just kind of set the atmosphere, right? Because this is the time to take in what we share. And today's topic I'm so excited about because we always hear people say things like, you don't know my story, or, everybody has a story type of thing, which is very true. However, the part that we're going to talk about today, Sharon, is about us telling our story.
Okay.
Because that is something that doesn't happen a lot of times for a lot of reasons. And the thing about it, only you can tell your story. Right?
You got that right. Nobody has walked in my shoes. Nobody can look through my eyes or feel what's in my heart but me.
But you, Sharon. So to help people get delivered from this area of feeling like they cannot tell their story, because I know a great hang up when people, why they don't tell their story is because sometimes it involves other people. So, sometimes people think, oh, I can't say anything because of so-and-so, or, I don't want them to think I'm talking about them type of thing, for various reasons. Well, first of all, shoe fit, wear it. That ain't your problem no more. Okay. It's like you don't have to mention the names, but it's still your story. So if whoever is hearing your story, whether they agree with it or not, Sharon, like you just said, the one who's involved didn't experience it like you did. The one hearing about it did not experience it like you did. So again, only you can tell your story.
Thank you, Yvonne. And it's so important that we get our stories out. That somebody it's hard to get somebody to listen to your story when they don't agree with your story.
That is so true. If they don't agree, you can forget it. Don't even waste your time, to be honest. Because again, and I know, and I was a person who felt like that myself too. I felt like for a long time, it was like, what is my story? Even when I think about it, they would ask you that question in business. They ask you that question, depending on what it is that you have taking place in your life, just thinking about what your story is.
Right.
Some people want to write a book and tell their story too. So many different things about telling your story. But the problem is there are a lot of people who are hindered and who have been silenced from telling their story. And I think it's important, I hope that our listeners hear that you have to tell somebody your story, because a lot of times your story is not even about us, Sharon. A lot of times our story is really to help somebody else.
Yes, because somebody, and you know how people come on social media all the time and say, well, I don't know who needs to hear this today. So I know that people are not alone. We may not have experienced it in the same way, in the same fashion, in the same moment, but we can, if there is some empathy within you, you can feel and help that person release. All some people need is an ear, a kind ear, and say, you know what, I may not have been through that, I may not understand it in its totality, but I want you to be able to know that I care about you and I'm listening to you.
That's so true, Sharon. And the word I like to use is just have some compassion. It allows you to have more compassion for people because, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people do feel like when they're in it, that they're in it by themselves, that
Yes.
they're the only ones who've been through it. They're embarrassed about some of their stories, because if you have a great story to tell, you don't have a problem telling your story.
Right. You're telling it to everybody. Nobody's trying to listen. You done told it 1,000 times.
Exactly. But if you have had struggles and challenges, telling your story can be pretty complicated.
And sometimes, the person that's receiving your story, it makes them uncomfortable. But how how do you, Yvonne, suggest that people tell their story when the person receiving the story is uncomfortable in hearing the story?
Sharon, being honest about it, at those times, that person may not be the one for you to tell your story to.
Okay.
Because if they're not ready to receive, it's just like in our regular communications. It's like if somebody's not ready to receive, they're not going to hear you anyway. And they're definitely not going to show the compassion or give you the response that you probably need or want at that time. So what I suggest, if someone feels like we can start within ourselves. Because
Okay.
first, we need to identify what is that story? What is it about our lives that when we think about telling our story, what is it about our lives that we want to be able to tell, right? And then a lot of times there may be some healing to take place. There's so many things that may need to take place between now I have identified my story to now I'm ready to share my story. So it's really about ourselves because even in being able to share your story, it's like that's not for other people unless they need it, which we know everybody may not, but there is somebody who needs to hear our story.
The other thing is, when I'm emotionally attached to the story, good or bad, it's so hard to find the words. You get so choked up that it's hard to just say the words. And I find for me that writing a lot of times is the way for me to get out of my own emotions.
That is very good, Sharon. And that's exactly, even when people feel like they can't talk to a person about it, writing is always the way to go. Because like you said, it allows you to express yourself. You get to get it from out your head, put it on paper. If you need to, you get to spend time in it, praying about it, whatever the case may be. But again, it's your story. So what I want to encourage our listeners to do is to not allow anybody to tell them what their story should or should not be. You can't have family members, friends, strangers, or whoever can't tell you shouldn't feel like that or you didn't go through that, because from their lens it may not look like that. That's okay. But if it's your story, only you know how you received it. Only you know how you felt, how it made you feel. You know where you are today versus when you then. There are so many different things about your story that nobody else can really share. But I think, Sharon, is one of the most beautiful things to be able to do is tell your story, because good or bad, really, is still our life story. You know what I'm saying? we have gone through the journey. We've already, and obviously we made it through if we still here to
Yes,
tell
yes.
it.
Yeah, that's the best thing. And the release that you feel when you finally get it out and able to move forward, where it's like a fog is lifted and you start to see the light again because you've got it out. And it may take a while to get it out and to work your way through it. And that's why I'm glad we do have the coaching couch, so that Yvonne can coach you through the different steps to get you to the other side. It's not going to happen. Well, it could happen overnight, but if your story has been building for years, it may take a minute to get it out of you where you feel free of it.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. And what I like to just emphasize on too is that some stories are traumatic. We have a lot of trauma in our stories sometimes, and that is the space where, like Sharon said, sometimes we do need to have somebody to help us to work through those traumas, whether they were childhood traumas, adulthood traumas. Trauma is trauma when it comes to that. So it's really a matter of identifying it, working through it, and knowing that you can receive healing, that you can move on with life, and that you could change the whole narrative of your story. It does not have to end like it began. That's for sure.
Yes.
So that's the excitement of it, Sharon.
That is, I'm always wanting to create my own narrative.
That's right. So hopefully, Sharon, what was shared today about telling our story, hopefully somebody has heard the importance of identifying what that means to them, getting freed up to be able to talk about it, owning their own story without the outside influences trying to dictate how the story should go for real. So I hope that our listeners hear that. I hope there's somebody, again, Sharon, if there's anything else you want to say about it before we kind of close out.
No, I'm good. And I'm glad we had this moment because whether people know it or not, sometimes Yvonne and I talk offline, and I share a lot of things with her and she shares some things with me. And then sometimes we're just talking and these topics just pop up. And we were talking about it, and I was like, wow, sharing your story. I said, you've got to talk to our audience about it because it's just so powerful, the telling of your story. So I thank you, Yvonne, for working us through it. And if you need more work to do, call Yvonne, email Yvonne, let her know.
Thank you, Sharon. And I so appreciate the Business Vision Development Center for the opportunity to come on the coaching couch so that we can have these type of discussions, so that we can offer the opportunity for people to know that you are not alone. And all it is, like Sharon said, you can either hit me up on social media. I am Yvonne Lorraine. You can email me at IamYvonneLorraine@gmail.com. You can find me with Sharon at info@the BBD Center. I mean, there's so many ways. Sharon, tell them what other ways can they contact us? She's so beautiful, ain't she? She's just so beautiful. Okay.
Okay, well, you can contact us on all social media platforms, but we want you to go to our YouTube channel, the Business Vision and Development Center, and like, share, subscribe. And I still want to invite you, and I will continue to invite you to join us on the coaching couch. It's an amazing opportunity to talk through some issues, and Yvonne is good at making it all better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you to our listeners. Peace and blessings.